I started wearing my
The war socks.
I was gonna, started wearing my tens.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate everyone being here tonight. I will call to order the Thursday, June 10th, regularly scheduled meeting of the Asheboro City Council. Welcome. I would like for you to, at this time, stand and join me in a moment of silent meditation. I invite you to pray in any manner that you're comfortable, and we will follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will remind you that tonight's meeting is streamed on the Asheboro YouTube channel. And just a reminder. At each of our council meetings, we have in the early agenda a time for public comment. I invite anyone in the building tonight that wants to address the city council on any items of city concern or business to come forward. Ask that there's a pad on the dais here. I'd like for you to print your name so that we, in the printed record transcript of the meeting, that we get your name correct. So, come on forward, Mr. Leach. Identify yourself for the record and sign the book, please.
My name is Michael Leach. Mike for short. Okay, if I could, I want to pass this around. Is that okay to show
Sure.
the video on?
Start over there with Ms. Carter.
We're gonna hand sanitizer. Please.
Oh. All right, good evening, Mayor Smith and City Council members.
Go right ahead, Mark.
My name is Mike Leach. I live at 862 New Bern Avenue. I come to you for your consideration and approval to replace a drainage pipe that runs under New Bern Avenue with a larger pipe that is able to handle the runoff flow during heavy rain events. The video I'm passing around shows you what happens when that pipe backs up. A very large area of rainwater runoff drains between my property and my neighbor's property. During heavy rain events, the pipe cannot handle the flow and begins backing up onto our front and side yards. When this happens, all kinds of wooded area debris, such as leaves, mulch, limbs, etc., there's woods behind us, begin floating on the surface. When the rain slows down and the backed up water gets through the pipe, all this debris drops straight down onto my property. My wife and I spend hours cleaning this up after every one of these events. When the water backs up far enough, our basements are in danger of flooding. It has gotten into my basement one time and my neighbor's finished basement multiple times, causing much damage. And it's just a matter of time before it floods both of our basements again. Most people find the sound of rain relaxing, not me. When storms are called for, I watch the radar and pray that the large downpour areas go north or south of me. I lay awake at night when I hear heavy rains, wondering what mess I'm going to find when I get up. I plan on living at this address for a long time. I would like to replace the windows with maintenance-free windows and remodel our master bath. But someday, when I'm much older, I will want to sell the house. And I struggle to put money into remodeling when the house may be unsellable if this pipe is not replaced with a much larger pipe to prevent this flooding. This situation causes me and my wife much stress and anxiety. I know it won't be cheap or easy to replace this pipe, but I really hope you agree that this situation needs to be corrected. And I really pray that you guys will find it in your heart put it in your budget for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Anybody have any questions? Mr.
How long has this been going on, Mr. Leach?
All for years, probably 15, 20 years. Pretty much ever since I've moved into the place. Yes, Walker?
1994.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mr. Leach is here because we've hired an engineering firm. The Wilton Company did a rainwater, a drainage study for that neighborhood, and we've gotten it back, but we've not seen it yet. We as council people, our engineering department has seen it, and it's a pretty serious problem, and I think he's just encouraging us to be aware of it, and I think I've been told that it's coming up on the July agenda for some discussion.
Now, Dale is my neighbor, and he's going to speak about the issues he has.
I'll let Dale go first.
Okay, all right.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you, Mike.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
Isn't that a nice video?
yeah. Looks like my front yard.
I didn't see you kayak.
My name's Dale Laughlin, and I'm just here to echo Mike's concerns. My basement actually is slightly lower, so I've had it flood at least 3 times where I've replaced sheetrock, carpet. Right now, the carpet's out because of the last storm. Every time I see the radar, yellow or red, it just causes a hardship. It's traumatic to wait, and if I'm not home with my wife and daughter at home, they're calling, they're worried, oh, the ditch is rising, the water's coming up, and it's gotten worse. The storms have gotten worse, as we all know, but I'm convinced if the culvert was this big instead of this big, it would solve the problem. And if anyone has any questions, or I have many pictures, I've actually documented since '94. Now the incidents have increased. There's been at least 3 in the last 2 years. Anytime you see flash flood and the TV's beeping, if it comes over my house, then the culvert, the water rises
Backs
above
up
it at
pretty
least
good.
4 foot, and it's backed up.
Council, the city, our public works has that culvert on our watch list, and we try to make sure that it's clean of debris and leaves and sticks and stuff, prior to any big rain event, and so we have a list of troublesome spots that we try to keep abreast of that, so, we're doing that to help, but that doesn't mean that a big tree limb or something's not gonna wash down during a flash flood that's gonna stop it up even worse, so,
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
So Mayor, we have seen the preliminary of the plan. The engineers have done a HEC 2, what's called a HEC 2, that's the program they use, rainwater study. It has to, the project's gonna be about a $800,000 project. It's a lot more than just raising that culvert. That culvert actually, Mr. Moffett will tell you, that's the way it's designed and the way it works too. So they'll be coming back to you with 2 or 3 options in your July meeting.
okay, great.
So we had,
I guess it'd be fair to say, this is not the only situation of this similar description that we have. If y'all recall, it isn't that long ago, we've got, behind the Goodwill, off of 64, where it goes down through Dixieland Acres, and what makes this situation, it makes it more challenging over time is what was adequate one day, but additional runoff from further development for the hard surfaces, it makes it worse the next day.
Right.
For instance, in the Goodwill example, because it's easier to see than in these neighborhoods, but, the sheets, for instance, in the true line building, you just got that much more runoff because of the hard surface, impervious area is what they actually call it. When that first section of Pinecroft was put in, there was X amount of impervious area, and it was designed, and then it was designed in 2 phases. Now, the third phase across where the arch culvert is, that really doesn't affect this, but as the
Right.
situation,
But, yeah, but this,
then,
behind these gentlemen's house, it actually flows behind their houses. It crosses
yeah,
up almost near the toward the, what's that, the western terminus, where it turns back into
And the
City
basement
Parkway.
includes some of your neighborhoods. Some
Yep.
water
Yep.
that rains in, on your street actually
that's right.
goes through the woods
It goes
over
right
to
behind
Newbern.
the Thompsons,
It goes around,
Stephanie Trogger, where the Brisbane
Yep.
live now.
yeah, it goes,
Cross over through there, so,
across what is the Gainey's now front yard, goes around, Kenny Grady,
yeah.
and goes back, then comes in.
It's statistically, you know, they designed these things for, if I'm trying to remember right, I think that was designed for.
I think a 10.
20 It might have been a 25,
Maybe
10 or
25.
25-year flood, and then you have all these statistics. But, it's like at Las Vegas where they say 98% payoff on the slots. I'm always in that 2%. I can't explain that. But, when the statistics rise, you know, all those, it all goes out the window, and our rainfall over the last 5 years has been higher. If you
Right.
take that snapshot, so information.
And we meet July the 15th, which is not our usual, but the normal time falls on a holiday schedule. And we'll put that as close as we can to the front, so you don't have to sit here all night here.
Do you want us to be back on the 15th?
Yes.
I would be more than happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to have a resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I didn't want y'all to leave, you know.
Yeah. And
I'm
I'm glad.
very familiar with the history of the whole thing. I mean, our former firm that I own built the third section. We only paved the first two sections, but it had nothing to do with the construction installation. It was just a matter of data and statistics that were installed at the time. That comforts y'all zero.
Yeah, I mean, two issues. One, I think the diameter's too small. The second is that pipe has two jogs in it, which lends itself, as you mentioned, to get clogged up. And when it gets clogged up, then it's a lot worse.
And
But it still backs up even if it's not clogged.
Well, you got elevation issues that I'm sure is gonna end up in either an arch or an elliptical pipe situation, because you can't raise this and that, you just
Right.
got no choice but go wider, and you'll get that single throat with an elliptical. That's too much detail for tonight, but I understand your problem.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else in the building that wants to address city council tonight? Okay, moving on, let's see. It calls for Mayor Smith to provide an update on the acquisition of Randolph Health assets by American Healthcare Systems. In a nutshell, the bankruptcy court and the North Carolina Attorney General has approved the plan. The county has been approved to borrow the 12 million instead of the original 20 million. You can read, and I don't want to sit here and read it for you, but the purchase price was reduced from 18 million by the bankruptcy because the bidding basically was predicated on the county having the $20 million capital money. So they reduced the price, they disqualified the second bidder. Everybody signed off on it, it appears, and a new CEO interim CEO has been appointed. So it looks promising. It is moving forward and looking for a possible closure sometime in July, closure of the sale, not closure of the hospital, closing of the sale agreement, and the transfer of ownership to American Healthcare Systems out of California. And John, you have anything you want to add there?
No, Mayor, I would just say that that's been, these items have also been communicated to the employees, the 900 plus or minus so of the Randolph Health employees. That's a hospital, but also they're all their practices. So we think this is on the right track. I don't know, it said in the employee letter went out, the interim CEO, Angie Orth, I missed some, the mayor said this, her last day was last Friday. The interim CEO is Michael S. Miller. not Michael C. Miller of Asheboro. And he's just a 3-week interim, but he's a healthcare professional. He's in the
He has
Ancura
great
firm.
experience, and was pretty much approved and appointed by the
Bankruptcy court. Yes, sir.
Would it be fair to, my understanding and recollection of all of this is this was the only bidder, in addition to many other things, but that actually planned to expand the hospital services as opposed to compress or limit the number of beds.
That's correct.
They plan to expand beds and expand services. That's a very, I think, important public point.
Yeah,
And between-
the plan, his plan, is for great expansion. He's talked quite a bit about getting a certificate of need for a psych ward, taking one of the unused wings at the hospital and refurbishing it and putting a psych ward in there, which is something we definitely need with the drug abuse and the mental health issues that we have in Randolph County.
There was the judge did order, you know, when the amount of the local government went from 20 to 12 or 12 and a half, the bankruptcy judge did order additional bids to be accepted with the understanding that not everybody gets the 12.5 million, just this American Healthcare. They'd have to start all the way over. There was no more bidders. I know of one bidder did reach out to the Chairman Fry. He explained to him that.
The money wasn't available to anybody, but at that
Right,
point,
right.
without starting over.
Without starting the whole process over. At the meantime, the creditors aren't getting paid or do anything, and the employees were starting to hemorrhage. I mean, quite leave.
Many
Yeah,
of the
cash burn.
employees were very faithful and dedicated, and as long as there was a plan on the table that seemed to be moving forward, they were comfortable and they stayed and did their job and whatnot. But then late in the process, when it appeared that the plan was had some difficulties that were probably not going to work out, a lot of the employees started leaving. Some left. I won't say a lot, but it has been stabilized. The plans come together. It looks like maybe sometime in July there will be a contract closing, and we will have a new owner that we feel comfortable in our meetings with him and his proposals that we will have good health care local for many years to come.
And Mayor, I will report that between our last council meeting and tonight, not only this has happened in the bankruptcy court and with the local government commission, I think it's called the Joint Commission that comes and inspects hospitals. They came and inspected,
Accreditation.
and came and inspected Randolph, and Randolph got a clean report, which is the equivalent of when Steve stands up and you got a clean audit. That's exactly what you want. So patient satisfaction was high.
Safety ratings are high.
Ratings are high. Healthcare return on investments high. There's a lot. Health, where the employees are healthy and they're safe, and you follow all the prescribed procedures, and that was all through the charts. So, as we've surmised, a lot of this has not been actually in healthcare. Okay, Mayor, that's.
We're excited about going forward about the possibilities of
And did
having great health care again.
you mention there'd be a new board? You mentioned that.
Did not. There will be a new board appointed, and that's all part of the plan and part of the Attorney General's approval of this sale and acquisition. The board has a makeup, pretty much, correct me if I'm wrong, but the makeup is pretty much laid out by the Attorney General, and it will have 2 commissioners.
And it'll be revolving. It'll be, people will know in the community who's on the board. You can reach out to them. They'll be on the website.
And it'd be by qualification or
Exactly.
trade or position
Or
Exactly.
or position.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the commissioners will appoint that board.
Yeah.
The 12 million that they have in the rural healthcare stabilization money. That 12 million will be passed out to American Healthcare over 3 years. They have immediate capital needs, huge immediate capital needs that they will be funding. Some of their funding will come from them, some will come from this $12 million. And it is being treated by the commissioners as an incentive, as we do other incentives for manufacturers or other businesses that move to the area. It will be performance-based incentives. So we're comfortable with what's been put together. I will say one last thing, that this has been salvaged a couple of times by the hard work of our commission chairman, Darrell Fry. He personally saved this plan 2 or 3 times, I think. I don't believe any of us will ever fully understand exactly how much he did to make this happen. Been on the phone for hundreds and hundreds of hours and many meetings, and he was dedicated, as was Angie Orth and the hospital staff, hospital management, of keeping healthcare local. As we've talked many times, I don't know what we'd do as far as growth and economic development had we lost our hospital. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that this all comes together shortly. All right, Ms. Reeves, our finance officer, Deborah Reeves, will present the following items. Item 5A is a CBDG coronavirus grant fund project ordinance.
I'm having a little technical difficulties. I'm going to go ask for my assistant.
We spend too much time on other things. It went to sleep.
Yeah, we got to go back to view. Here, I'm sorry.
No, no problem.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I have 6 items on the agenda tonight, 4 of which are budget amendments, and another one is a resolution for installment financing. All of these items require a individual vote, so I'll explain them and then ask for a vote after each of them.
Okay.
First one is a project ordinance called what I'm calling the CDBG Coronavirus Grant Fund. On March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law, and the city of Asheboro was identified as one of the non-entitlement units and that would be receiving funds. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is the funding agent, but these funds are going to be flowing through the North Carolina Department of Commerce Rural Economic Division. The city of Asheboro is going to be receiving an estimated amount of $900,000 with a $20,000 local grant match. And the city of Asheboro intends to use these funds for public services, which could encompass local support in a variety of areas, some of which could be rent, utility, mortgage, food pantry, community programs. We are partnering with the United Way to help us evaluate areas of need and local administration and disbursement of the funds. So while we are the funds are coming to us, we are partnering with the United Way to manage these funds. But because these are special funds, I have to set up a special project that keeps these funds separate from any other city funds so that they can be accounted for properly. So before you is a project ordinance for the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Grant Fund, and I recommend adoption by reference.
Any questions of Ms. Reeves regarding item A? I will entertain a motion to adopt this project fund ordinance by reference.
Mayor, I move we adopt the project fund ordinance by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5B is general fund budget ordinance amendment.
As referenced in item A, there is a $20,000 match that the city of Asheboro has to provide, and this ordinance to amend the general fund provides for that match. I recommend adoption by reference.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance by reference.
Mayor, I move we adopt this ordinance by reference.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5C, a resolution to approve installment financing terms with Truist Bank.
In the 2021 budget was allocated funds, we initially came to you guys in August and asked for you guys to authorize us to purchase equipment and then reimburse ourselves by loan installment proceeds later in the year. Truist Bank is the financial institution that came in with the lowest and most desirable financing package for the city of Asheboro. The amount that we are going to be funding or borrowing is $933,622, and the interest rate is 1.1%, and it will be over a 59-month period. I need approval by the City Council of this resolution in order to continue with the process of entering into this loan agreement. So I recommend adoption by reference.
Okay, we have a recommendation to adopt by reference. May I have a motion to that effect?
Mayor, first, Debbie, what was the amount?
$933,622.
Okay. But we're advancing, that was not what's advanced in the
I'm sorry.
agreement. It looks to be $903,399.06.
Oh, I was looking at the resolution.
Resolution.
Oh, the resolution
Okay.
matches what the,
Resolution of
that
it.
we
Yeah.
passed in the beginning.
It matches.
And yes, the 933 is what we're authorized, because that is what you guys authorized us to spend. And I apologize, I did not write down that figure.
Oh, we got 2 5Cs. I'm sorry.
And I just
Yeah.
I had one, I didn't
Yeah.
print out all of it.
Oh.
So for the record, the actual amount that we're borrowing over the $933,000 that was authorized in August is $903,399 and some change.
With your permission, that was a great point. The resolution of intent had to be set up as not to exceed, and so this resolution is set up as not to exceed, and the actual amount will come in less than that not to exceed number.
Okay.
Okay.
So our
That's-
motion's still good on the resolution.
Yes, sir.
And did I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Swear. Okay.
Who made the first?
Did I ask, I didn't ask for a first.
That's what we're still, yeah. we
All right,
have a-
let's back up here. May I have a motion to approve this, item C, by reference? Resolution approval by reference.
So moved.
Okay. Where was that? Ms. Carter? Okay, thank you. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Snuggs? Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5D is an ordinance amending the Airport Improvement Fund.
Yes, Mayor. Before you is an ordinance for the Airport Improvement Fund, and the purpose of this is to recognize some grant proceeds that have come to our attention late in the year that would be available for us to use to purchase a tractor that can be used to mow and clear the runways. And so we have to allocate funding for it, for the purchase and for the revenue that's coming in. So we have up to $90,000. The cost of the tractor actually is a little bit less than that, but we need to authorize up to that in case there are any taxes and fees that need to be covered in it.
We can always get more tractor.
Pardon me?
We can always get more tractor.
Yeah?
There's no such thing as.
Not enough tractor.
No such thing.
Actually, this was a very difficult tractor to find. Michael Leonard had to work very hard because the state had very specific requirements for this, and he actually had to go to Lexington and go deliver the check there and have it delivered here, because he couldn't find it anywhere closer. But I recommend adoption by reference, please.
Okay, any questions? On item 5D, I will entertain a motion to approve this ordinance by reference.
Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance to amend the airport improvement fund by reference.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5E, American Rescue Plan Act 2021 Fund Project Ordinance.
Yes, Mayor. Also on March 11th, as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, the city of Asheboro has been allocated an additional funding that we can use towards water and sewer improvements, broadband infrastructure, making different investments and to clean our drinking water, support vital wastewater and stormwater infrastructure, and as I said, expand broadband internet. The amount that the city of Asheboro is going to be receiving from this is an estimated $7.59 million. Half of the funds will be received are anticipated to be received in this budget year, and half of the funds are anticipated to be received in the next budget year. We were initially disclosed that we would be receiving them in May, but as with a lot of things that have a lot of moving parts, we haven't gotten the funds yet. But we've had some projects in the pipeline that will qualify for these funds, some of which is Zoo City Sportsplex Water and Sewer, Commerce Drive Water and Sewer, Highway 64 improvements, and broadband internet. Now, we've already talked about the broadband internet, and we allocated fund balance to pay for this, but we will be replacing the funds out of fund balance that we allocated to pay for it and using these grant funds for it, since it is an allowable expenditure. And then in next year, we've got forecasted, we're projecting to work on the Lake Lucas intake valve replacement. This is a very important piece of equipment that allows us to use Lake Lucas as our main drinking water source. It has been broken for a few years, so we've been using Lake Reese, which it costs us more money to do because you have the electricity and everything to try to bring it from Lake Reese to the plant. So that is also highlighted as one of our major projects that we want to use for these funds. And so you'll see those itemized on the back. There are several other projects in line that are not identified yet as we have to evaluate what's the priority and not. So that's why it shows as unallocated on the budget amendment. I recommend adoption by reference.
Question, do you, John, or Michael Leonard know if the term sewer includes sanitary and storm?
It does include sanitary and storm. Yes, but we didn't have any storm sewer projects in yet. It could be part of this unallocated. I mean, it's certainly a need.
We're holding it for that.
Yeah, and that
We'll be coming back to you.
Those are,
good, simple questions.
those are drainage at Sportsplex on the parking lots, and what, does that qualify as storm drainage?
I think it's more intended for this pipe project. We're talking about, I think we're supposed to be planning for and building the right storm drainage for what's brand new, so.
Is that something we could use down in, at Newbern?
Yes, sir.
That's something we need to evaluate.
With the other places.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the Dixieland Bankers. It's a long list.
Y'all remember last week during our budget workshop, the manager highlighted these projects and talked to us at length about the Lake Lucas intake valve difficulty we have there. And as Ms. Reeves said, it has been broken and out of service for many years, which severely limits our ability to use Lake Lucas. And the Commerce Drive Water and Sewer, you know, we have a plan to extend Commerce Drive from the dead end off the Fayetteville Street side at the railroad tracks through by the old Goodyear plant and the new Fibertex to back to Pineview, which takes a very difficult dead-end situation in an industrial area to a through street, which enhances our safety with fire and ambulance, because once the train gets there and stops, we've got businesses on the far side of the track that are completely cut off for a couple of hours at a time as the train is shifting and reallocating their cars. These are great projects, and I will say this money comes at
Good time.
when it comes, it's coming at a particularly good time for the city of Asheboro. We have struggled with how to pay for some of these. So I will entertain a motion to approve item 5E, American Rescue Plan Act Fund Project Ordinance by reference.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve item 5E by reference.
I have a motion by Mr. Moffett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And on item 5F, I will open the public hearing and call on Ms. Reeves to give us the up-to-date on the budget and the economic development appropriations.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for the public hearing for the proposed 2021-2022 budget. This budget was discussed with the City Council at a special called meeting earlier this month. The details of that meeting, the presentation, we didn't go through the big presentation, but we sent out all the slides relating to all the details, and that information is all available in the clerk's office, as well as copies of these slides for this. And the full budget is also posted on the internet and available in the clerk's office. The proposed fund allocation for the City of Asheboro is a total of $55,103,792. Our annually adopted funds are the General Operating Fund and the Water and Sewer Operating Fund. The General Fund, we are allocating $34,647,069. And in the Water and Sewer Fund, we're allocating $20,456,723. Going to the General Fund specifically, we are not recommending any tax rate changes. The rate will still stay at, is recommended to stay at 0.665 per $100 valuation. There are incorporated some fees for Community Development Department. These fees have not been updated in many years, and our technology and our needs have changed, and so we're recommending some changes in that area. As stated on this former slide, the appropriation is $34,647,069. From that, from operating revenues, $29,868,656. We are also recommending installment proceeds for financing vehicles, $2,207,000. These vehicles were itemized and discussed by the city manager at the prior meeting, but they cover everything from some heavy equipment in street department and environmental services that are needed, as well as some smaller vehicles and mowers and things like that. We are proposing to use $2,571,413,000. Some of the projects that are in the general fund and the water and sewer fund are being rebudgeted from this current year, operating year, to this next year. We had allocated fund balance for those projects in this operating year, but things take a little bit of time to get done, and so we are reallocating some of those funds. I do not anticipate using all of the fund balance that we had adopted through the year, for allocating for projects in this fiscal year, because we haven't been able to accomplish those projects. So we didn't take millions out this year. I don't expect us to take millions out this year and then again take millions out next year. From an expenditure perspective, I'll go through the different departments. Our budget is adopted by the bottom line of the department level, so the individual line items do not need to be discussed individually, specifically. The mayor and governing body, $137,155. The city manager's office, $267,372. The finance office, $565,308. Legal and city clerk, $246,587. Information technology, $446,622. Municipal building, $135,990. Planning and community development, $2,050,142. Fleet maintenance, $1,425,178. And human resources, $418,420. That is the category of what we call general government. That's the behind-the-scenes stuff that makes everything go work, but people don't necessarily, our citizens don't necessarily see these individually. Public safety, which consists of police, fire, building inspection, and fire inspection. We've got $9,508,048 allocated in police, $6,026,136 out of for fire, $124,019 for building inspection, and $273,224 for fire inspection. The transportation core of our operations is the operations department, the city engineer department, and the airport authority. We're allocating or requesting allocation of $1,016,662 for the operations department, $299,301 for the city engineer, and $121,415 for the airport authority. Public services, this is street maintenance and environmental maintenance. Environmental maintenance is, garbage and recycling collection. Environmental services, $2,526,585, and street maintenance, $4,034,846. The street department has a large number of equipment that we are allocating this year because last year we focused on environmental services and getting them a lot more equipment, and so now we're focusing on the street department. Our cultural and recreational area, that consists of arts and cultural services, which is $414,757. Our recreation services, which is $2,027,576. The municipal golf course, which is $232,003. The library, $141,884. And facility maintenance, $2,207,839. All of that added together comes to a total appropriation, again, of $34,647,069. Moving on to the water and sewer fund. We are not recommending any rate changes in the water and sewer fund. The minimum bills will remain as they are this year, and the consumption charges will remain as they are this year, and they're up on the board. We're also not recommending any changes to the outside city limits rates, and all those rates, which are our current rates for this year, are all listed on the board. Our rate structure consists of a minimum charge plus a consumption charge. The minimum charges listed are up to 150 cubic feet for both inside city limits and outside city limits. As noted, we are not recommending any rate changes. Our total appropriation is $20,456,723. Our operating and non-operating revenue is $12,430,300. We anticipate paying for some of the expenditures for under grant proceeds, and also some of the drinking water low-interest loan payments through the state. That's $3,855,140. One of those grants, the grant has already been approved, and one of the loans has also already been approved. And so the only loan that we have to apply for now is for the generator, which is about $1 million. And then we're recommending retained earnings of $4,171,283. Just like I said with the general fund, there are a lot of projects in the water fund that we had planned on for this year, and we had allocated fund balance for this year that are being pushed for next year. Therefore, we're having a reallocation of the retained earnings. We have to go through and balance a balanced budget, so our expenditures, when they get rebudgeted, we have to rebudget the revenue aside from it. In the Water and Sewer Fund, we have the Billing and Collection Department, which we're allocating $612,757. The Water Meter Operations, $644,452. Water Maintenance, $1,633,081. Wastewater Maintenance, $1,814,309. Water Treatment, $6,599,194. And wastewater treatment, $3,554,168. Some of our larger projects that are being paid with those grant funds are all in the water treatment plant area, which is why that's such a big difference. Technical services, $266,345. System maintenance, $4,521,347, and water quality, $811,070. And again, that totals $20,456,723. Our budget adoption is scheduled for June 22nd at 7:00 p.m. As I said in the beginning, a copy of all this material is in the city clerk's office, and the budget in detail, line item by line item, is posted on the city website.
Questions of Ms. Reeves?
Good job.
Thank you so much. This is the appointed time for the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that would like to address the council on any item of the proposed budget? Okay.
Okay, moving on to economic development appropriations. We have to separately discuss our appropriations for economic development purposes other than real property and location incentives. The economic development appropriations are the same as that they were this past year. We support, the City of Asheboro partners with and supports financially the three listed economic development agencies. Randolph County Economic Development Corporation, I'm sorry, after all those numbers, my tongue is getting tied. The Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Asheboro Incorporated. Randolph County's budget is $55,000. The appropriation to the Chamber of Commerce is $25,000. And the appropriation to Downtown Asheboro Incorporated is $100,000. Plus, we pay $25,000 for office rent and support to for DAI to the Chamber of Commerce that we are partnering with. For the Randolph County Economic Development Corporation, we receive new industrial manufacturing company recruitment and site selection services for a variety of business sectors. They support existing industry and manufacturing technical assistance. They provide training assistance, installment financing assistance, state economic incentives, information and assistance in getting state economics incentives, and international trade services and information. The Chamber of Commerce provides small business assistance, resources and advocacy for the small businesses, retail business development programs, community events and community promotion, local youth and adult leadership training, and are focusing on downtown center city development and support. Downtown Asheboro Incorporated, they are doing the administration of the Main Street program. They have the board of directors and 1 full-time employee. Creation and implementation of annual economic development plan through the Main Street America 4-point approach to downtown revitalization. Annual statistics and program evaluation of downtown revitalization activities. Training and technical assistance from the North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center. Downtown business assistance, retention, recruitment, and resources. And promotion of downtown through various media formats and public events.
Questions? Is there anyone in the house tonight that would like to address the council in this public hearing on proposed economic development appropriations? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing.
Thank you. And we have already approved and adopted all the individual items here, so I will move on to the consent agenda, and someone else will present that.
All right.
Mayor, before you leave, our adoption date is June 22nd. That's 2 days. Normally, we normally will be meeting 2 weeks from tonight. Instead, that's 12 days from today. The mayor will be out of pocket at the end of the month, so to get our schedule, his schedule, and the vacation schedule lined up for the employees, that's the 22nd. Now, we don't plan to be here that long. If there's something, we'll have the fiscal year closeout too. If Debbie and I see things that need to be amended, and if something comes up, we can throw it on there for one last meeting in FY 2021.
Was that 7 o'clock?
Yes,
Okay, thanks, John.
but there won't.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves.
Mayor, for the public, there'll be no public comment period that night. There'll be no public hearings. That'll just be a fiscal year wrap-up.
Adoption of the budget. Okay, great. Thank you. Council, you have in your packet tonight, in front of you, the items on the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to remove for individual discussion and consideration? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion for approval by Mr. Burks. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Bell. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Okay, I will open a hearing and invite Ross Holt, Randolph County Library Director, and a member of the Randolph County Historic Landmark Preservation Commission to come forward, and has 2 proposals for inclusion in the Historic Landmark Register.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to be here tonight. We have 2 Asheboro houses to recommend for landmark designation tonight, and just a quick.
Mayor, I apologize for interrupting. Can we put you under oath since this is a question?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says that right there, quasi judicial hearing.
No problem.
We're just gonna affirm it, that's okay. So you affirm that the evidence that you shall give this council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Very good. So just a quick refresher. The Randolph County Historic Landmark Preservation Commission was established in 2008 by county ordinance to recognize, preserve, and educate people about the county's historic sites. By intergovernmental agreement, the commission serves as the landmark commission, not just for Randolph County, but for the municipalities in Randolph County. So when we recommend a site for designation, it goes before the governing board of the jurisdiction in which it is located for actual designation, which is done by ordinance, which is what you have before you tonight. So we have two houses side by side. I actually accidentally reversed the names and the houses. The Bunch house is the yellow one, and the Robbins house is the kind of gray one there. We're grateful to the homeowners for nominating these houses and doing a lot of the initial research. We'd like to see more of this. We've landmarked most of the public buildings that we can landmark and do on our own. So now we're having to discuss with private property owners when we feel like there's a site that needs to be designated, and there are quite a number of those in Randolph County in private hands. These were brought to us by the homeowners, and again, I'd like to say thanks to them. There are several similar, if not basically identical houses in Asheboro, and that's because they were built by the same builder in the same era, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But what distinguishes these is they are particularly strong examples of the era and the architectural style. And also they are associated with quite important figures in Asheboro history, which is one of the criteria for landmark designation. Both Henry Robbins and Walter A. Bunch were mayors of Asheboro, and Walter Bunch's son, John, was a mayor of Asheboro. The Robbins family was quite important in the post-Civil War history of Asheboro, and of course Walter and his son John were consequential mayors in the 20th century. And it's kind of interesting to observe the Robbins House nomination relies heavily on the past associations of the house in history backwards from the time it was built, while the Bunch House relies more on its 20th century significance forward from the time it was built. So we'll start with the Henry Mooring Robbins House, and we'll take these one at a time, and then you can consider each in turn. It was built in 1924 for Henry Robbins, who was at that time a former Asheboro mayor and a beloved local figure. It's a colonial revival style house with craftsman influences, and Mac Watley is better at this part of it than I am, but the symmetrical block structure, the two-story structure, is the colonial revival style. The triple casement windows are more the craftsman style, which was a more modern style. This sited at 117 South Main Street in Asheboro. The designation boundary is the lot. And you'll see the area in which it's located. That was the Robbins farm, and before that, the Alfred Marsh farm, and we'll talk a little bit more about the history of that later, too. See here the side and rear views. The porch originally was a porch. It was enclosed later. And then the outbuildings in the back appear to have been built around 1964. Can't say for sure without what we call destructive investigations, and we certainly didn't want to do that. There's a carport off to the side that you can't see. We think that's 1964 too. And a modern deck here at the back. Those do not detract from the original house, which is architecturally sound, has its integrity, and the additions are sort of attachments that don't affect the architectural integrity of the main part of the house. And just a note, we don't really deal with the interior of these houses. We're only designating the exterior, but on the second floor there is a sleeping porch up at the top, where in the summer you'd go to sleep and stay cool when it was hot outside. They're both highly original. They retain a high degree of architectural integrity. The homeowners have removed the aluminum siding that was installed mid to late 20th century to reveal the original clapboard, and have attempted to restore and refurbish it. I mentioned its past history. It's located on the site of the Alfred Henry Marsh House and Farm. Marsh was a key figure in early Asheboro history. He was a local merchant who operated a store on the courthouse square. He was the local money lender, one of them, before the era of banks. If you needed to borrow money, you would go to Jonathan Worth or Alfred Marsh to get your loan rather than going down to the bank. He was an investor in the Cedar Falls Manufacturing Company, which was the first textile mill in Randolph County, and one of the operating trustees of the Asheboro Female Academy, which, of course, is a landmark. The house and property was purchased from Marsh's heirs in 1873 by Marmaduke Robbins, who was known as the Lincoln of Randolph County, obviously because of his stature, but also because of his stature in the community. He was an attorney, he was a legislator, and in 1876, he established a newspaper called the Randolph Regulator that is still in publication today as the Courier Tribune. And of course, his law office down on the library property is a Randolph County Historic Landmark or Asheboro Historic Landmark. When he died, I believe, in 1905, and it was in 1907 to 1909 that his son Henry served as mayor, and this was de facto town hall. Henry held the council meetings in his father's law office, which was then his law office. In 1924, the Marsh Robbins house was taken down, and Henry Robbins built his house on that lot, in that place. The Courier Tribune, there was a note in the Courier Tribune, a little item that said, you know, there are so many memories in this old house, we hate to see it go, but you know, progress. Lost my place. The house retains some of the elements going back to the Marsh house. The beams in the attic have old wallpaper on them, and Mac, because of the kind of wallpaper, Mac says it's pre-Civil War, which would mean it came from the Marsh house. And the stones in that rock wall on fronting the house on Main Street and on Marmaduke Circle are from the chimney of the original house. Henry Robbins, like I say, was a beloved local figure, mayor 1907, 1909. He was a prominent attorney. They tried to get him to run for judge, but he said, no, I just want to be a lawyer. I just want to practice law. He served on the State Bar Council. He was on the UNC Board of Trustees. He was an avid reader and regular library user. Can't leave that out. He served on the Asheboro Library Board, and when he passed away, his daughter inherited a trust, and his will specified that if she didn't spend the principal, it would go to the Asheboro Library Foundation. And indeed, that money makes up about probably half of the Asheboro Library Foundation's endowment today that it uses to support the library. On the day of his funeral, the city and county offices, the courts, and the attorney's offices closed for the afternoon, so everybody could go to his funeral, kind of showing you how widely respected he was. So the Robbins House meets the criteria for landmark designation. It's an excellent example of the colonial revival style with more modern craftsman influences. It retains its architectural integrity and a high degree of originality. Of course, there's the association with Henry Robbins and Thomas J. Lassiter, the builder who built many of the homes in this era in Asheboro. And I actually left him out earlier. He was a lot of the bungalows you see around town were built by Lassiter, and he developed prefab bungalow kits that the Asheboro Home Building, the Lowe's hardware of its day, prefabricated and shipped out all across the Southeast, and then T.J. Lassiter would go out and oversee their construction. So it's exemplary of Lassiter's work, too. And of course, the historical import of its site, the Robbins family, which was very important in Asheboro. Another of Marmaduke Robbins' sons, Sidney Swaim Robbins, wrote 2 books about growing up in Asheboro and the history of Asheboro in the era he lived here, and the Robbins family. It's located with like structures that are also very original and give a sense of what that neighborhood was like in the 1920s. And the State Historic Preservation Office indicates that there is sufficient evidence for the Landmark Commission to consider this for recommendation. And the Landmark Commission on April 28th unanimously recommended it for designation by the Asheboro City Council. So turn it over to you for the public hearing or continuation of the hearing and any action. Thank you.
Yeah, can we do both of these at the same time?
It'd be preferable to deal with one ordinance at a time.
Okay. We have a proposal, an application, and a recommendation to adopt or approve the Henry Morgan Robbins House circa 1924.
And Mr. Mayor, before you ask, we just make sure there's no one
Oh,
asking.
okay. Is there anyone in the House that would like to address the council regarding this proposal for landmark designation?
Is that the parade for it?
That seems affirmative vote.
Quite the fanfare.
Like a big one.
I thought it was noteworthy too about Dr. Fitzpatrick, just as far as people of our age.
All right. Now, council, what's your preference?
Mayor, I move we adopt the ordinance designating the exterior of the Henry Mooring Robbins House by reference.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Ross, you got another proposal.
Well, first, I'd just like to thank you for that. This is the second time I was over in John's office last week, and 3 fire trucks went by, lights and sirens blazing while I was in there. So I'd like to thank you for this display of services and power and all that kind of thing. So a lot of what I said about the Robbins House goes for the Walter A. Bunch Jr. House. It was also built by T.J. Lassiter in 1919. Also colonial revival style with significant craftsman influences. It's interesting to note that the Robbins House was built later, but it looks a little more traditional. The long veranda, wraparound veranda, is really a craftsman style influence, along with the hip roof in that house. Some of the original highlights of this house include the front door and the glass in the dormer window up on top. It's sited at 111 South Main Street in Asheboro on the property acquired from the Robbins family. As I said, built in 1919. The designation boundary is the lot. You can see the side and rear views here. The previous homeowner who initiated the designation request believes that the additions on the back, the kitchen and bathroom additions, are original. We're not sure about the porch. It was at one time open, kind of has a different roof line, so it could have been added at a later date. On the north side, you see the dining room windows and the little bump out there. They are original. As I said, it was built by T.J. Lassiter for Walter Anderson Bunch, Jr. Walter Bunch was born in Guilford County, came to Asheboro, worked as treasurer for the McCrary Redding Hardware Company, and then as secretary-treasurer for People's Building and Loan Association, which over the time of his tenure became very successful. He served as mayor of Asheboro from 1931 to 1941, which, although it was in the height of the Depression, was a period of great growth for Asheboro. The hospital was established, the library was established, the golf course was built, and of course this building, which is another one of our historic landmarks, was built. The city hired its first paid firefighters, speaking of the fire department, opened its third city lake and extended its water and sewer systems. And Walter was living in the house at the time he served as mayor, as was his son, John Charles Bunch, who served as mayor from 1957 to 1963. During that era, Asheboro had its first annexations. The modern planning board was developed. The city passed a $2 million sewer bond, and at John Bunch's urging, the city officially redefined itself as a city rather than as a town. It had been calling itself a city for 100 years, but it was on the books officially as a town. And like the Robbins House, the Bunch House meets the, there he is, Walter Bunch and John Charles Bunch. So the Bunch House meets the criteria for landmark designation, same ones as the Robbins House. It exemplifies the colonial revival style with its craftsman influence. It retains its architectural integrity and a high degree of originality. It's associated with two consequential mayors of Asheboro. It's located in that neighborhood with like structures, and the State Historic Preservation Office indicates sufficient evidence for the Landmark Commission to consider it for recommendation. And so, on April 28th, also, we unanimously voted to recommend it for designation.
Questions? Is there anyone in the audience tonight that would like to address the city council on the proposal for the Walter A. Bunch Jr. house to be included on the landmark register? Hearing none, we'll move to the deliberation, and I'll ask council for their thoughts.
Mayor, I move we adopt the ordinance designating the exterior of the Walter Anderson Bunch Jr. house by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Holt, and awful sorry about your dad.
Thank you so much.
A fine fella, served the city well, too.
He is, and he was on that first planning board.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nuttall. Item 8 on your agenda, 8A, is I will open a legislative hearing on case number RZ 21-02, proposed zoning ordinance text amendments. And this is a continued hearing from last month and the month before. Okay, we're gonna get it right.
Some light reading, I see, Trevor.
Yeah, that's right. Been carrying around 2 ordinances for 3 months now, so this is nice. This is coming to a conclusion. This is a continuation.
We're getting to you.
This is a continuation of text amendment that Mr. Luck first discussed with council in, I believe, in April. The purpose of this amendment is largely to bring the city zoning ordinance into compliance with new state legislation known as 160D, which is local planning and development regulation that the General Assembly passed a while ago, with the intent that all municipalities and counties follow suit to bring the ordinances into compliance prior to July 1st. So the things that we want to highlight and that have already been talked with you about are center around conditional zoning, which is a change in how conditioned applications will be presented to the council and under what process the council will review those requests. It is somewhat similar to a conditional use zoning permit process. One key difference is that instead of a quasi-judicial hearing and a 2-step process where you look at oftentimes a legislative zoning district change request and a corresponding conditional use permit, this changes that process strictly into a legislative review from the council, but allows you to look at site plans and accept conditions that are offered or proposed and agreeable to the applicant as part of that process. So you'll still see site plans, there'll still be discussion of conditions. It will change a little bit of how we process and interact with applicants, but at the end of the day, it'll be, I think it'll feel very similar to what you are used to. The second highlight we want to point out is a change that we felt was necessary to incorporate into this process and this amendment at this point, and that's a reasonable accommodation provision that is inserted that will allow the Board of Adjustment to grant what are referred to as reasonable accommodations under the ADA, Federal Fair Housing Act, for deviations from the zoning ordinance necessary to allow an individual with disability to safely and comfortably reside at the dwelling. So if there's modifications, accessibility modifications that are necessary that may not be in compliance with the zoning ordinance, instead of a variance process, there is a separate reasonable accommodation request that a applicant can make. The third leg of this proposed amendment deals with sign regulations. This is something that we have talked about for a while. For the need for the city to come into compliance with a Supreme Court decision that addressed content neutrality in terms of sign regulations. And this amendment, based upon a framework from the International Municipal Lawyers Association guidance, does just that. So there are several changes that are proposed within the sign ordinance that make the city's sign code consistent with that important Supreme Court decision. I think what you'll see in summary, in general, it may feel that there is some more permissiveness as it relates to signage, and that's largely as a result of that decision and ramifications of that decision. One change I do want to point out, since last month's draft ordinance, which has been online for several months, we've talked about it over several months, the staff has made a slight change to the maximum height for shopping center signage, and instead of allowing additional height under the proposed ordinance, we have reviewed requests that we have had over the years. We've talked with applicants of shopping centers who are proposing new signage, and we feel that the current ordinance's maximum height for shopping centers, which is 30 feet, it's sensible to maintain that height standard under the new code. So that is a change that we did make after getting some additional information from the folks that we work with. So, in looking at the land development plans, recommendations, goals, and policies supporting this request, we find that there is support locally for these amendments. They're up on the screen. We don't feel like there's any that are negative towards this request, but most importantly, this is necessary, again, to comply with state law. It formalizes a lot of the things that we have been doing anyway. It requires the city to continuously maintain a land development plan or a comprehensive plan, which we have done and are in the process of updating currently. It brings us into compliance with the conditional zoning process. It addresses the signage limitations on regulations that the Supreme Court decided. So for those reasons, both the staff and planning board do recommend approval of this amended zoning ordinance. I will say if it is adopted by council, we have set the date to become effective July 1st in our recommendation to council to give the staff time to make necessary paperwork and application adjustments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, this is a hearing. Is there anyone in the building tonight that would like to address the council on proposed zoning ordinance text amendments? Is there anyone left in the building? Looks like everybody left. Okay. We'll move to deliberative phase, and I'll ask the council for their thoughts and wishes on this.
Trevor, I appreciate the commentary about the 30-foot height on the shopping center thing, because there ain't nothing no worse riding around. We know where we're going locally, but those monument signs with bushes growing up from, you can't find nothing when you go somewhere else. I think they cause more wrecks than they are pretty, but anyway, thank you for having some logical usefulness with this thing.
Make a motion.
Then I make a motion that is consistent with the approval by the planning board. Is it two motions or one? Two?
You can combine accepting the recommended consistency statement and the text amendment if you like.
And combining that with approving of the text amendment as presented by Trevor Knight.
Have a motion to approve the consistency statement and the text amendment by Mr. Moffett. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Carter, thank you. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, I'm sorry. Like sign. Motion is approved, and so, the amendment will become effective on July 1, 2021. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate your, the staff's hard work on these. This has been going on for quite a while, and.
Yes, sir.
Well thought out and well worked. So.
Not been easy.
Thank you.
Item 8B is a legislative hearing, which I will open on an application to rezone a parcel of land on the north side of Kidd Drive from R10 to R40, and this is case number RZ 21-03.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually a continuation of the public hearing that council opened at your May 6th meeting. It was requested to be continued by the applicant, and they are present here this evening. This is an application from the property owner, Ms. Jacqueline Cheek. We're looking at property on the north side of Kidd Drive. It is a request to change the zoning of this single parcel from R10 medium-density residential to R40 low-density residential. As I said, it's one tax pin involved in this request, just under 2 acres in size. The property is undeveloped. There is a manufactured home that has been brought onto the property, but has not been permitted at this point, which is why we're here this evening, is to make the request for the proper zoning to allow that structure to be permitted. The area of the rezoning request is outlined blue, and blue on the map. You can see Kidd Drive is off of Old Cedar Falls Road, just south of East Presnell Street intersection there. The yellow denotes the R10 medium-density residential zoning, which is the current zoning designation of the property. You'll see RA6 higher density residential to the southwest. See a scattering of some industrial and commercial zoning to the east of the property. You do see an area of R40 zoning on the east side of Old Cedar Falls Road, and south of the property on the west side of Old Cedar Falls Road. I do think it's important to note one of the allowances in the R40 district is that it does permit manufactured dwellings to be located within that zoning district. And while you'll see a lot of R10 zoning up on the screen, in fact, there are several non-conforming manufactured dwellings that are currently within that R10 area of this portion of the city. This is actually outside the city limits, but it is property that is within the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. Zoomed in a little bit here so you can get a closer look at what's going on in terms of zoning in the area. You'll see some streams that are on the property. That dot pattern is telling you that this is extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. You can see in terms of topography and city utilities, other than some water that's in the area, there is not the full array of city services, and I think that's important when we talk about this zoning request and the consistency of this request with the development pattern of the area, and we'll cover that in a second here. Aerial map of the subject area. You can get a sense. It's a little dated, but you get a sense of the development pattern. While there is some higher density residential zoning in the area, this is certainly, I think, best described as a mixture of undeveloped and low density residential with some higher, maybe a little bit higher density residential to the southwest as you pick up access to city water for those lots. This is a view from Kidd Drive of the subject property. That is the home that Ms. Cheek is hoping to permit on the property. This is Kidd Drive looking south away from the subject property. And I'll note, as part of the process that Ms. Cheek has gone through to attempt to get into compliance and get the city in a position to be able to issue a permit, she's made great improvements to this right-of-way of Kidd Drive, bringing in stone to ensure not only her accessibility, but also delivery of public services, including emergency services. So there's quite a bit of work that Ms. Kidd has done to get this property more ready for development. This is looking at the end of Kidd Drive as it turns into what would be known as Sunset Circle, north and east of the subject property, had that right-of-way been built. But that is, in that area, an unbuilt right-of-way that continues east. So the property is not accessible from that location. I said the property is outside the city limits. It is not served by city water or sewer, and those services are not practical for connection. Point out that the planning board's meeting, that says July 7th, that was actually just this past Monday, though. The Board of Adjustment did grant a variance from Section 106 of the ordinance that requires a lot to abut a public street. There was some technicalities that Ms. Kidd overcame in terms of zoning compliance for that property. The board had authority to grant that variance, which it did this past Monday, so that issue has been addressed. That final decision is expected to be adopted at the board's July 12th meeting. We talked about access and the combination of unbuilt right-of-way and the improved Kidd Drive that Ms. Cheek has made an effort to see improved. There is that manufactured home on the property. With a rezoning this evening to R40, that would allow Ms. Cheek to move forward with her permitting request. There are, as I said, several additional single-family dwellings in the vicinity. There are actually 3 single-family dwellings along Kidd Drive, further south, back towards the public right-of-way. We do have some R40 zoning in the area, located at 1387 Old Cedar Falls Road. Up on the screen, I won't read it, but it gives you the intent of both the R10 zoning district as well as the R40 district. The area I would point out, under the current designation of R10, the ordinance envisions this as an area served by central water supply and sewage disposal systems. This is an area that does not possess those services. And instead, as we look at this request, and as I move into the recommendation of the staff and the planning board, this feels like an area that's more consistent with that R40 zoning designation. Looking at the proposed land use map, it is a residential use that's recommended for this area. It seems that the land development plan maybe forecasts some additional services to be in this area. 20 years ago when that plan was done, that has not come to fruition. The growth strategy map actually forecasts some economic development to occur in this area had those services been extended through some economic development projects. That did not occur. Overall, we find that there's 6 land development plan goals and policies that are supportive towards the request. There are 3 that are more negative towards the request, but looking at the totality of the land development plan recommendations, we believe that the infrastructural limitations are really what drives our recommendation. And with those limitations, medium density residential development as allowed in the R10 is not feasible for this property. And there are design standards within the city zoning ordinance that do make an attempt to have manufactured dwellings fit in with any site-built homes in the area, and that's through masonry foundation and pitched roof requirements. So for those reasons, both the staff and the planning board do recommend approval of this rezoning request to R40. Thank you, Mayor.
However, I've got more questions about the R10 being inappropriate in R40. I mean, given where we're at now as opposed to what we thought might would have happened 20 or 30 years ago, I mean, because it's plainly stated the R40 zoning category is for areas that, because you gotta have room for a well and septic tanks.
Sure.
There's no possible way to do R10.
Yeah, and I believe why that R10 was applied is because a lot of these lots were recorded prior to city zoning, I would imagine, being in the area. And so the lots themselves are actually, you're right. And
25 feet.
exactly. So you see a lot of lots that had the city applied R40 in a comprehensive manner in these areas, that may have rendered a lot of existing lots as non-conforming. So
Over time, an unintended consequence.
I think that's fair. Thank you, Mayor.
Other questions? All right, this is a time for the appointed time for a hearing. I have opened the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this, request?
I would, Mr. Mayor, at the appropriate time.
It is the appropriate time. Come on up.
Excellent. I thought Your Honor was asking, was there anybody?
Well, I'm sorry, I probably was, but, I was really talking to you. Go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city council, I'm Rodney Mason. I'm a member of the state bar. Do you need me to sign, swear? And I represent Ms. Jacqueline Cheek, who is the applicant for the change in zoning. I have a copy of the staff report that Mr. Nuttall just went over with you. And I wanted to mention just 2 or 3 things. First of all, Ms. Cheek began the process of, or at least obtaining her well and sewer permits with the county. She didn't realize she was in the extraterritorial jurisdiction until the planning process began, and then she discovered she was. She came to the city zoning office, and that's why she's here this afternoon. So she does have her well and septic system permit from the county. Now, Mr. Nuttall mentioned that a change to R40 would include a foundation under the mobile home, and Ms. Cheek put that in her application saying she intended to do that. And that came up during the variance meeting on Monday, and she told the variance board of adjustment that she's fully intending to do that and maybe even put asphalt down on the road when she gets an opportunity as the funds become available. And speaking of maintenance of the road, Ms. Cheek is Miller. Her maiden name is Miller. Several of the people that live along Kidd Drive are part of her family. It's a sort of a Miller community is what she was telling me. And they all contribute to the maintenance of the road. But she's entered into a maintenance agreement that makes her solely responsible for it. She's accepted that responsibility. Mr. Sugg, counsel for the city, is currently working on some conditions to be attached to the maintenance agreement. And by the way, the requirement that her mobile home be Class A and the pitch of the roof has to meet the requirements. I've talked to Mr. Evans today, and he says those requirements have been satisfied. So all told, I think what Councilman Moffitt said pretty much sums it up. It's R40. It's best suited as R40, and it really ought to be R40. So we appreciate your kind attention and request the council allow the rezoning application. And I tender Ms. Cheek if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Cheek, would you like to speak to the council? Not necessary. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on this request? Okay, moving to the deliberative phase. Council, what are your thoughts?
Mayor, based on the consistency statement afforded council by staff and planning board and the unintended consequences as they were of the original zoning, I move that we adopt the consistency statement and approve the request for rezoning to R40.
I have a motion to approve the consistency statement and the rezoning. Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody. Mr. Burks, I'll choose you. Discussion.
Sometimes it's good to feel like we've actually really helped somebody with a situation.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Cheek, congratulations. Tell Shirley I said hello now. I will. Okay, next item, I'll open a legislative hearing on case RZ 21-05. It's an application to rezone parcel on the southeast corner of Cliff Road in Emerson from R15 to R10.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request by Deshandra Woodall to rezone property at that location from R15, which is a lower density residential single-family district, to R10, which is a medium density residential district. I will say that one of the differences between the R15 and the R10 beyond minimum lot size is that the R10 zoning district does allow a duplex to be permitted on R10 property by right. This property is one tax parcel. It is 18,500 square feet in size, so this is a property that would be eligible for a duplex permit. Currently, the property is undeveloped. The property is outlined in blue in the middle of the map on the screen. You can see it is just on the edge of the commercial zoning along Dixie Drive, and that extends into and south on Cliff Road. As you move southeast and east away from the subject property, you see consistent R15 zoning in the area. On the adjacent to the property to the southwest is R10 zoning, which is what this request is here this evening. We've zoomed in a little on this map just to get a little bit better view of what's going on in the area. In terms of topography and utilities, this area is served by both water and sewer. It is located within the corporate limits. There are no major environmental issues identified through this map on the screen. You can see the undeveloped nature of this property and how it lays compared to the development pattern within this area, which is commercial to the north and west, and then residential to the south and east. One thing I will point out is as you move east along Emerson Drive, which is again within the existing R15 zoning district, there are three structures at the end of Emerson Drive to the east there that are legal non-conforming duplexes. So there are some two-family homes that are in this area, and we have some R10 zoning southwest of the subject parcel. This is a view of the subject parcel. This is a view looking north on Cliff Road. You'll see the NTV location. It's a view looking in now to the residential area along Cliff Road. This is a view looking east along Emerson Drive. From the subject parcel, you can barely make out driveways in the distance of Emerson Drive there. Those are the driveways for the duplex structures.
It's an eclectic corner. Every time you turn that camera, you get a different use.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this area, and likewise looking west on Cox Avenue here. So again, this property is in the city limits. The city does maintain Cliff Road north of East Dixie Drive. Cliff Road becomes a minor thoroughfare. Emerson Drive is also a local city maintained street. As Mr. Moffett said, and within the staff report we note, this area definitely includes a mix of commercial uses as well as residential uses. This lot is right at the intersection of that area. Again, we do have some two-family dwellings, and actually three two-family dwellings northeast of the subject parcel. Those are non-conforming uses. Intent of the R15 district is to provide regulations for low-intensity single-family residential uses. Intent of the R10 is to provide regulations which produce a more moderate intensity of residential uses, including single and two-family, that have the necessary infrastructure serving the property to make those viable uses. Again, the main difference between R15 and R10 is lot size, some setbacks, and the allowance of a duplex within the R10. Property is designated neighborhood residential, which is consistent with a medium-density residential designation. It is within the central small area plan in a primary growth area. Staff believes there are 5 goals and policies pending to support this request and 2 that are not supportive. From the staff's perspective, as well as the planning board's view, this is noted as a transitional location between commercial and lower density residential uses. We do have R10 zoning adjacent to the property. This lot is very close proximity to commercial locations as well as that R10 zoning across the street. We have other 2-family dwellings in the area. For those reasons, both staff and the planning board do forward this application with a favorable recommendation to council. Thank you, Mayor.
Questions? I've opened the hearing, and I will invite anyone in the building to address the council on this request. Hearing none, we'll move to deliberation and ask the council for their thoughts.
Mayor, based on the staff reasoning and consistency statement, I move we approve the consistency statement and approve the rezoning request from R15 to R10.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. We have a motion to approve the consistency statement and the rezoning request. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Carter, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 8D is a subdivision SUB 17-02, final plat review for Robin's Nest, Section 3.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for final plat approval for the final phase of Robbins Nest, which is phase 3 of the development. This request is filed by the developer and owner, Davidson Land Development. It includes 20 lots on just over 12.5 acres in size for an average lot size of 24,400 square feet. On the screen, we have those lots laid out in red that are seeking final plat approval here this evening. You can see there is some terrain that the developer has had to deal with in constructing the streets in this area, but each lot does have buildable area on the lot. There is floodplain which is in the vicinity that should not impact home building on any of the lots. There's ample room for construction of those homes. You can see that floodplain a little bit better. It's along the western sides of those lots to the left there. But you can see the first 2 phases of Robin's Nest to the south. So again, this is a continuation of the development consistent with the master development plan that was submitted to the city several years ago. One thing I'll note is, if you'll notice on the plat and up on the screen, it is apparent that there is a potential street connection that is provided for future development should it occur to the north. So there is there will be the ability, if the conditions are right, for that street to continue up towards Draper Street. This is a portion of the plat that the council has been presented, but it does bear all the certificates and data that's required for a final plat and for recording in the public registry. This plat has gone through the review points here at the city. The city will be assuming maintenance on these streets and over 1,000 linear feet of new streets upon approval. I will note that the subdivision ordinance does require the developer to warranty any improvements that were made in the development process for 1 year. So that clock will start running upon the final plat approval for recording. As I said, this has gone through the review points here at the city. Public Works has reviewed both the plat for easement locations as well as inspected improvements required by the subdivision code. All the work has been completed, so this is not a case where we are holding any bond or financial guarantee. All the required improvements have been installed to the city's satisfaction. The planning department requested corrections have also been made. We have that 1-year warranty on file from the developer. Interesting thing that we are starting to see more and more of as we get new residential development requests pertaining to how the U.S. Postal Service is designing its mail delivery in the current age. And so we are getting comments back from USPS more frequently on their on a requirement, maybe a desire, if not a requirement, for cluster mailboxes to be installed with new residential development as opposed to individual mailboxes. So there appears to be a change that occurred at the Postal Service back in 2012 in the name of obviously some efficiencies for their service provision to require that. So that is not an issue that the city has any jurisdiction over, but it is part of the comments that we get as we run development plans through the process. So this development, even though there are lots out there with individual mailboxes, there may be a requirement for a cluster mailbox for this phase. Just something that we have not had a whole lot of brand new residential development over the last 10 years. And so this is something that, while it's been a Postal Service requirement going on 8 or 9 years, it's the first we're starting to filter into city development. But all the conditions for approval are satisfied. Staff and planning board do recommend approval of the final plat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council?
Question for you, and it may or may not be part of this conversation. How do lots 12 and 16 get sewer? I mean, they could do it by easement, a little right away for 20-foot something on a service line down there, but I don't see it. Sewer's here, there. There's nothing coming down this cul-de-sac unless I'm missing it. That's what I'm asking.
It's a good question. This is one where we did not get any comments about that issue. I would suspect it's just not shown on this plat since the Public Works has inspected that.
Mr. Kivett.
Mr. Kivett is here, so maybe he can shed some light.
Bring it back.
Did you hear the question, sir?
Yeah. I mean, they may have a little easement or something go down these lot 12.
Simple answer is they don't have it.
Where's sewer? Sewer comes right along in here, ties into, I assume this comes over here.
Which lot are we talking about?
These two.
These two right here. I'll have to look.
I got sewer
There
here.
is sewer on all those lots. This is the old one. The new one comes up through here. I'll have to look and see. That's a good question. I can find that out. I can
Well,
I didn't bring the construction
Well,
plans with
why
me.
don't you
Can we
look
suffice
at,
it to say it's required?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is there. It is there. I wish
I think we here at City Hall would like to know if you'll call Trevor and let him know.
I will.
Yeah, and my recommendation would just be condition final plat approval on a revised plat that does show those services either by easement or within the public right of way.
You can make a little old 20-foot thing to run a 4-inch line down there.
I'm sorry it's not on there, but I know it is there.
It had to be platted.
All right.
Right, absolutely.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this conditionally upon the satisfactory evidence that 13 and 16 have sewer. Can I have a motion to that effect? Is
That's
that
12 and 16.
12 and 16?
12 and 12. Yeah, 12 and 16.
Jeff, you okay with that? Yes. Motion?
Oh, Mayor, I move we approve,
Clark, you're not the only one sitting here.
I'm just looking for pipes. Make a
I was
motion.
waiting on Walker, but, Mayor, I move we conditionally approve the final plat conditioned upon showing sewer access to the two lots 12
All
and
right.
16.
So we have a motion to approve section 3 of Robin's Nest with a condition that they satisfy our curiosity about 12 and 16 sewer.
And we also include the condition about the postal service being out of the right of way if they meet the requirements.
All right?
That was part of my point.
Have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kevin, I'm sorry you had to sit here all night.
I'm glad you did, though.
All right.
We're going to resolve that tonight.
Okay, Mr. Nuttall, you have an appointment recommendation to the redevelopment commission?
I do, with Ms. Bailey's stepping down from the commission a few months ago, we have contacted applicants on file. It turns out Ms. Jean Volrath is very much interested in serving on the redevelopment commission. We've talked to her about that commission. It does seem to align with her interests. We did have some other applicants who are also in the bank to be considered for appointments. In talking to those applicants, they expressed more of a desire to serve on the city planning board. So we do feel that Ms. Volrath is really the candidate for presentation to council here this evening.
Discussion, questions? May I have a motion to approve this appointment or to make this appointment?
Mayor, I move we appoint Ms. Volrath for the redevelopment commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank
Appreciate
you.
your interest.
You may contact her and welcome her to the planning board. Ms. Carter, I know her and I think she'll do a good job for you.
I think she will.
Will do.
Okay, item 9 is, I will open a public hearing, and this is on the proposed permanent closure of portions to the public right-of-way. Y'all come right up here and have a seat. I'm sorry you've had to wait all night. Well, I was gonna say, you're not open tonight, so this. Yeah, oh, I'm sure. All right, Trevor, you're gonna start with 9A and give us an overview of the process.
Yes, Mayor. So this is pertaining to a proposed closure of portions of the Sunset Avenue right-of-way. I'm not going to go into detail on what that entails. You've heard a lot of discussion about that. I do want to talk to you, council, about the process that staff followed in preparation for this public hearing. The first step after seeing as a general consensus of council to pursue this closure was the resolution of intent that council adopted in April of this year. It declared an intent to close just over 4,700 square feet of public right-of-way and reduce the width of the Sunset Avenue right-of-way from 70 feet to just over 56 and a half feet. Within that resolution of intent in April, council did call for a public hearing this evening to consider the matter. As required by state law, staff did see that the resolution was published for 4 successive weeks in the Courier Tribune. That publication ran May 12th, May 19th, May 26th, and June 2nd of last week. There were also certified mailings sent to all property owners, identifiable according to the county tax records, of owners who had joined the areas to be closed. That totaled, I believe there were 13 properties and 12 property owners in total who were mailed via certified mail the resolution and a letter declaring this intent. In addition, signs declaring the intent to permanently close and call for a public hearing on the matter were posted on Sunset Avenue. I'm sure you've seen them. There are 2 pretty large signs on both the north side and the south side of Sunset Avenue. Finally, and I want to thank Public Works Director David Hutchins, who, with the assistance of Mark Trollinger, who's the contractor for the Mackeys who initiated this process, thanks to the work of both of them, contact or a visit to each property owner to discuss the proposed closure and to seek their acknowledgement of any property that may be gained via a closure and presentation of that survey was done. 11 of the property owners have signed the plat for closure at this point. The 12th, which is CenturyLink, has provided a letter of no reservation, no objection in the matter. So that was the process that the staff used to ensure compliance with state law and public notice requirements. So now is the time for citizen participation on the proposed closure.
Is there anyone left in the building? Is there anyone here that would like to address the council on this request for, to permanently close existing right-of-way? Hearing none, we will move into the deliberation and ask the council for their thoughts.
My hat's off of who had to type this deed description.
Yeah, kind of detailed, isn't it?
It's one of the dances.
All right, may I have a motion? Anybody?
Mayor, I move we adopt the street closure ordinance by reference.
Have a motion to adopt this closure ordinance by reference. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, you own some sidewalk.
It's not just sidewalk anymore, though.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's starting to look really nice.
Thank you.
When do we get to eat on it?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wow.
You'll be ready Wednesday, no matter what. You'll be ready Wednesday. If you're eating on paper plates.
That's all right.
Well, I know you got plates.
I do, yes.
Saw you moving them last week. Over and over and over. Okay, so congratulations, and I really personally appreciate your investment in downtown and what you've done to make downtown more of a destination, and wish you the best of luck, and congratulations on your grand opening there.
Thank you to everybody as well, and Trevor has gone above and beyond on all this, so.
It was an unusual
yes.
deal for us,
Yes.
and took a lot of work to get all this, and want to thank our city attorney also, because there was a lot of involvement.
We're a better place for it, though. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for feeling
So,
that way. You will live-
thank you.
You will live up to that, I promise
We
you.
didn't realize it was quite the endeavor, we just wanted to build a loop.
Yeah, well,
I didn't either when Mark first called me, but here we are.
and I'm sorry y'all had to wait all night.
Oh, no worries.
No, we
We've been
went-
working, so.
Okay, Michael,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome. Michael Leonard, item 10A, you have a couple of annexation petitions. Item 10A is the property of Robert and Kelly Link at 2835 Zoo Parkway.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
I will
Mr.
open a public hearing. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was presented at the May council meeting. The resolution has been properly repaired, and now is the time for the public hearing.
Is there anyone here that would like to address the council on this request? Okay, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have an annexation ordinance prepared by the city attorney making the annexation effective on June 30, correct? Yes, sir, that's correct. June 30 of 2021, and staff recommends adoption by reference.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt this by reference.
Move to adopt by reference.
Mr. Burks, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B, property owned by Charles Ridley at 416 Patton Avenue.
Yes, sir. This is for .38 acres at North Patton Avenue, and it was presented at the May City Council meeting. The resolution has been properly advertised, and now is the time for the public hearing.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to address council on this request? Hearing none?
We have an annexation ordinance prepared by the city attorney making the annexation effective on June 30th, and staff recommends adoption by reference.
have a recommendation to adopt by reference. May I have a motion to that effect?
Move to adopt by reference.
Mr. Burks makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Katie did.
Second.
Ms. Snuggs, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, thank you. Michael, be careful going home in this storm.
Thank you.
Sorry you had to sit here all night just for this.
Not a problem. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Michael Roney.
Next door neighbor can contact you.
Item 11, you will present for council consideration action change order number 1 and 2 for wastewater treatment.
The big money spender, you're up.
Plant clarifier basin painting and rehabilitation project.
Good evening. I will definitely try to be brief. As you know, I came to you last month to present this project to you for approval for construction to repair and rehab these 2 clarifiers plus the final clarifiers plus some work on primary clarifier number 7. I reported to you that that project was well under budget at the time. There was a reason we had accounted for the budget to handle concrete work if it was necessary, but once I saw a drain tank, I didn't think this work was going to be necessary, so I didn't include it in the spec. I included an area in the spec to repair honeycomb areas, not an entire honeycomb tank. So, let's see. Who's got the clicker? I have the clicker, I'm sorry. You'll see I've got a picture in here in my slideshow. Let's see.
Picture worth $150,000.
Oops, what did I do? Yeah, it's 77,000 each.
Oh, great.
Let's see. There we go. That's a picture of the structure after it was pressure washed. That's before sandblasting. And then the next one's an up close. This kind of shows the grading of the concrete surface. That surface is not suitable for coating with the product we had spec'd, so it has to be coated. We have a third-party testing firm that's responsible for looking after the project to make sure it meets the spec, and he confirmed that yes, we do need to do the coating, the mortar repair as well as the coating for this project. So therefore, the change order for this is tank number 2 is for $77,000, and we're assuming that tank number 1 is going to need it. If we don't need it, we won't pay them for the work, but that's why we're presenting 2 change orders, one for tank number 2, which is currently needing the coating or the mortar repair, and tank number 1 if needed, so we can keep the project on schedule.
Okay.
So.
Well, if you can see the exposed aggregate, you don't have to choice.
And well, the testing engineer told me that we were probably 3 or 4 years away from seeing rebar, which.
Then you really, well, then you just don't have nothing.
Yeah, seeing the rebar in the tank. So we're about 5 years from catastrophic.
Right now you're exposed. You're
Yes.
going to be nothing.
Yes.
That's the water
So,
we're drinking, huh?
No, this is the wastewater plant. So yeah.
It's more about leaching than it is.
Yes.
drinking.
Yes. So bottom line, we really need to do this work to move this project along. This ensures the life of these tanks for a while, and I guess I want to request that you approve each change order separately, just so in case we don't need to do number 2 or the change order number 2, it'll work. But if you will look, this thing's quick. The original contract was for $242,550. Change order number 1 increases it by $77,700 to a new contract price of $320,250. And if we need to do change order number 2, it's the additional same cost for a new contract price of $797,950. And we're still well under the $500,000 budget amount. So it is covered. We just need to do the work, and I need your permission to do the work.
These change orders, we have those in front of us. You recommended by reference approval.
They just need to be approved.
That they can be done by reference, but they do need to be done.
Individual.
Okay.
Change order number 1. May I have a motion to approve that by reference?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Moffitt. Second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Redding. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Change order, opposition? Okay, change order number 1 is approved. Change order number 2, may I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve change order number 2 by reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Snuggs. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Change order number 2 is approved.
We approved number
Okay.
1 and number 2 for the wastewater plant.
Would be Walker.
Is anybody on that TV out there?
Mr. Suggs coming
It's
up
on the
to talk to
YouTube
us about
thing.
Randolph Electric.
Yeah, follow that one.
I'll say it's hard for me to have anyone's attention after that comment.
That's right.
I'm gonna step out for just a second and
Yeah,
talk to,
2 hours and 5 minutes, here we go.
I have no slides to show you, showing my antiquation, but we do have a handout. So, in your resolution, there's a fold-out, there we go, there's a fold-out map. And I reference that because I think it helps put everything in context. And the good news is, all the parties involved in this are either in agreement or at least have no objection. It's sort of difficult with the shading and the hash marks on here, but the thing that will stand out is right where the city of Asheboro is at, you see there is no shading and there are no hash marks of any type. That's because the city could provide its own electricity. Could be an electric city. What appears to me to be a sound decision was made to grant a franchise. So exactly. In 1983, the city council granted a franchise to Carolina Power and Light. And it's a 60-year franchise to provide the service. So that area in the city was not assigned by the Utilities Commission. And this map is drawn from the 1966 assignment of territories by the Utilities Commission. And you'll notice, and by the way, it can be it can throw you off because normally you're looking for streets. This is more geared towards showing power line infrastructure that's out there. If you'll notice at the very top, there's a really light shading. That's Duke Power prior to merging with CP&L. Then you'll get down and see a shade for Duke Progress, which is the combined Duke and the former CP&L. To the west of the city, you'll see a reference on here to DEMC. That's Davidson Electric Membership Corporation. And then we have Randolph Electric. So what prompted this is once we get outside, and you can see in green where REMC, Randolph Electric, has territory that it serves currently within the city limits. What started this was looking at the Sportsplex, and if you can look on the lines that show up there, there is REMC infrastructure on 2 sides of that property. But under the franchise agreement, where the city goes, its franchisee goes with it. So Duke will come with the city. The question comes up, well, do we really want to have a duplication of infrastructure where one company is having to go over the other to get to it? Fortunately, both providers are very reasonable entities to deal with, especially in this case. So Randolph Electric did discuss the situation with Duke, one of their territorial specialists, and they had no objection. They have seen the resolution that is in front of you, because under the state statutes, there is provision made to where a city council can grant consent for one provider to be the exclusive provider within the territory that was previously assigned by the Utilities Commission, even though it was done before there was annexation and the city subsequently annexes, and normally the franchisee would go with them. In this case, we're simply asking for your consent, as expressed in the resolution, for in the area previously assigned by the Utilities Commission to Randolph Electric, for them to be the exclusive provider, subject to, it doesn't change the corridor rights. So under state law, where Duke may have an existing line out there, generally speaking, 300 feet is the corridor. Along that line, they can still serve, and they reserve that right, which is very understandable. But after they looked at the resolution and the map, they stated they had no objection to Randolph Electric seeking consent. They have sought consent. Staff recommends that the city council provide that consent, and they'll move forward in providing service in places like the Sportsplex with the adoption of this resolution. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. motion?
Yes, sir. Motion to adopt, recommend adoption by reference of the resolution.
May I have a motion to adopt this by reference, the granting of rights to REMC for service?
Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution granting consent to Randolph Electric reference.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bell and second by Ms. Redding. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't go by Mike Leach first.
Right past it. Mayor, on your screen is a list of the upcoming events. Saturday, June 12th, is a 5:30 to 8 p.m. It's the Community Health Alliance 4th Annual Walk A Mile in Our Shoes starts at the Randolph County Courthouse. Saturday, June 19th, is the 4 to 6 p.m. is the 17th Annual Juneteenth celebration at Memorial Park. I think you're speaking at that, Mayor.
I'm going to make a short remark.
Yeah, Tuesday, June the 22nd, that's our special adoption. Remember, again, special budget amendment, fiscal year closeout, and any loose ends out there to be tied up. Saturday, June 26th, there's a Family Crisis Center reception and tour. You may have received that or be receiving that in the mail. The Family Crisis Center over on Academy Street received a gift, and they're able to add on a bedroom. Received a large gift from a family. Monday, July 5th, administrative offices are closed for Independence Day. Then Thursday, July 15th, will be our next regularly scheduled city council meeting. Sometime about then, the utility office will reopen, and we'll return to our normal seating in the council room. So the next regular scheduled meeting will all be back in one place. I just want to put this up, Mayor. We've talked about coming out of this COVID pandemic era. It's funny, we just had that. For those watching television, that was the REACT. Even if your phone's silenced, REACT still works. So that was a flash flood warning. Upcoming events, we normally have the Coach Russell Murphy football camp and cheerleading camp. That's still closed this year due to COVID. We'll be able to have it in 22. But there's been some other things. A week from tonight, Thursday, June the 17th, at the city of Asheboro is a chess challenge qualification. That's the qualification round for the chess tournament. Then the chess challenge tournament's Friday the 18th at 8 p.m. There's a golf tournament at Asheboro Municipal Golf Course. There's a gospel extravaganza June the 20th at the East Side Park, and there's the hose down. That's when the fire department comes. And so we hope it's hot and sunny that day. If you've ever been out there for the hose down, that's a pretty fun. You hear unbridled fun, unbridled laughter. It's a good, for us adults, it's a really a heartwarming experience.
I actually did that last year and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Water's cold too, isn't it? The summer concert series, Mayor, coming up. We've got that rolling again. Of course, the other one, the first one rained on. The Magnificents are Sunday, June the 20th at 7 in Bicentennial Park, and the Cat 5 Band is Sunday, July the 11th. I think that Sunday, June 20th is also Father's Day for the fathers and grandfathers, great-grandfathers out there. And the fireworks game at the Asheboro Copperheads is Sunday, July 4th this year following the game. So we've got a lot going on between now and July the 15th. Watch correspondence, watch other things as Joanne or I or Tammy or Jeff or Debbie get them, and we have to get them up to you. For those watching the TV tonight, I'll close with this. The city has 350 full-time employees in 20 different locations and 20 different departments in 10 different individual locations around the town, and work 5 different shifts. So what we do, the budget takes a while. It's a long, complex, large, or complex organization. Do a lot of different things.
How many employees now?
About 350.
Okay.
FTEs.
All right.
So,
John,
and
you do a good job. I
we're still
appreciate you
grinding it out.
putting the budget together. You and Debbie and department heads did a lot of good work on the budget. It's a progressive budget. I think we can get some stuff done, and I will say once again, that $7.5 million allocation from the federal government really comes in at a good time for us.
Yes, it does, Mayor, and, but for the employees, Mayor, that have children or grandchildren in the school systems, this is their window to take vacation unless their kids are playing high school sports and.
Or in summer school.
Or in summer, or the high.
School this year.
Yeah. Fortunately, a lot of the high schools around Asheboro and Randolph County are in the state playoffs of various sports, so some of our parents and grandparents don't get to go as early as they wanted to. But this is the vacation window now between the end of schools, start of school, so you'll see some folks come and go. I won't be gone. I'll be going to Charlotte. I will not be here the November meeting because that's when Mary's getting married. So, knock wood, I will have missed 2 in 33 years. That's when Claire was born and Mary was married. So, that's pretty good average. I guess Debbie will sit right there and hold the big chair that night. So, call us if you need anything. The folks on TV, reach out to us, and that's all we have tonight, Mayor. And we promised you we'd be out by 9:30, and it's 9:15. So, we're ahead of schedule.
John, thank you very much, and once again, thanks for your hard work on the budget. I'd like to, wish everybody a happy 4th of July coming up. We'll meet again before then for our budget adoption. But I wanted to make a public comment about some of the, what you've seen, not particularly favorable about Asheboro City Schools, and you've all seen that, and I have talked to the superintendent, I've talked to the principal, I've talked to some other people involved. Wanted to emphasize and make a statement, let you guys know, emphasize that our police did not go to this young man's house. Our police did not escort him out of the ceremony or his family out of the ceremony. We were there to keep the peace. One of our police officers was actually in one of the videos, a couple of the videos, but they were standing in the back trying to make sure that this did not get out of hand and turn violent. What you've seen on TikTok and social media was not true. What you see is what, if you interpret what you see, is not exactly as it happened. And the young man had his 15 minutes, and I regret that it happened, but it did, and wanted to make sure that everybody understood our police were not out of line in anything, in any of their conduct. And quite frankly, it's just a bad situation and I received communications directly. I was copied on a lot of the communications that were sent to the schools, to the principal, to the administration. Was copied, but I received some directly as people assumed that I had some authority, or that I should have some authority in what was going on in my city in a racist manner. I don't think this was the least bit racist. It's just an unfortunate situation that was misinterpreted by many people. And one last thing I'll say, social media is going to be the end of our democracy if we're not careful. It is getting out of hand. So, we'll start over here with Ms. Carter. It was nice to have you back again tonight.
It's good to be back.
That's two meetings in a row. That's good.
How about that?
Yeah. Anything you'd like to share?
No, I'm excited that we've got a new person coming on the redevelopment commission. It's always, you get new, fresh ideas, or, you know, what they've been thinking about for years. And
Yep. She's a very experienced and worldly person. I think you'll enjoy having her. Ms. Snooks?
No, I just want to say, I got a call from some guy from New York. But I called Linda before, and I blocked his number. And then at 7 o'clock on Monday morning, he calls the house, but calls from a different phone number. And at 7 o'clock in Monday morning, first thing I thought it was my sister, so I answered the phone, but it was a guy from New York. And, but anyway, I just told him that it wasn't a race thing. He wanted to know if we were documenting everything, and we had proof of everything. I said, I don't know anything about all that. I said, if you want to know, I said, you call to City Hall and talk to the city manager or the mayor. And then after that, someone from the Queens Tribune called me.
Really?
Yep, and then the guy called back twice. He called back Tuesday, I think it was. He talked to my brother answered the phone, and he told him I wasn't there. And then he called back 2 more times, called again today, and I was out of town at the funeral. And my brother told him, said, don't call back here anymore. The young man has his diploma, and there's nothing she can tell you. I'm telling you now, he did get his diploma, so just don't call back anymore. That's the only thing
His
we can
diploma,
tell you.
as
And
you
he
all
also
know.
called Bligent. He also called Bligent, too.
His diploma, as you all know, was available Friday morning. He refused it until Monday when he had a press conference. And quite frankly, I think the press conference he was put up to the press conference by the people advising him. And in the end, it just didn't have to happen all that way. So it's unfortunate.
I think so.
It reminds me of when Winston-Salem had a controversy that they did away with having ministers give prayer, and we followed suit. Define prayer and who might be wanting to give it. If this had been a flag of a different nature, you'd have had a whole different conversation going on. It's just blown way out of proportion.
And where does it stop? Next year, you'll have different flags and possibly more detrimental flags.
The school system had it right. They acted correctly. It just got presented in a different
I
way.
was disappointed with the Courier. They had an article that said the young man left the stage without his diploma. Every one of the 299 graduates walked off the stage without their diploma. He was handed his holder. And the whole thing took, 3-4 seconds? Just,
On a positive note, I don't know how closely y'all studied ABC store reports, but on a year-to-date, month-by-month basis, they're over $100,000 in net profit ahead from last year. We're on tap to get, you could reach $600,000 this year. It's targeted for 5 people this year, which is about 120 more than the previous
Everybody
year.
stay home and drink.
COVID, no COVID, I don't know. We'll catch good news on the road.
well, people are drinking more. They're buying more anyway. It's ready.
I've heard some positive feedback from the new street signs that look really good. I haven't seen them in person, just seen them on social media. And it is a shame that the story we should be celebrating from the graduation was the young Hispanic woman who won not won, but earned a full ride to Harvard.
Here, here.
And 2 other Ivy League
And
schools.
2 other Ivy League schools, and that's just a wonderful story of what comes out of our city.
51% of that graduating class was Latino. And it's just
That didn't
not
offend anybody, it wasn't me.
a racist school, not a racist administration. Clark?
Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
And Jeff, you either just did or about to have a birthday.
Coming up, thank you.
Many
Birthday?
Many happy return anniversary.
Mr. Burks?
Well, I did have an anniversary yesterday, and my wife may take up drinking, I don't know. God bless her for keeping up with me and putting up with me for all these years, so I'm a blessed man. That's all I got.
You are that. You married up.
I did.
Mr. Swiggers?
I stay amazed and appreciate the work of our city staff when I look at the zoning, the volume of information that Trevor brought forward with that, and the time that it took and the dedication of those employees. That's, we are fortunate to have the people that we have on our staff.
We are that. We are that. Makes our job a lot easier.
It certainly does.
Okay, Colonel Brown, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate all staff hanging around. Sorry it's a long meeting, but occasionally we do that.
We were full.
That day you give us these umbrellas.
That's right.
All right, we will be adjourned.
I'll say, I have